Okay, we are talking about bullying, and unfortunately, it's such a big topic. I could teach a whole course on it, and I'm not going to do that. But I have turned it into 2 videos. This one is about what is bullying and how to prevent it, and then the next video is how to take action, what to do when it happens, when you know that it's happened. And unfortunately, I do have a lot of firsthand knowledge on how to do this. I've done a lot of research because my children have been bullied extensively in many different ways. I have been cyberbullied as an adult, and I have been a bystander as a child. It is part of our culture, and so we need to know why, as educators, we need to step in and how to step in and what is bullying and what is not bullying. So we are going to dive in. First off, why is it important? Well, bullying causes serious, long-lasting emotional damage to students. And that creates mental health issues, depression, anxiety. It makes them not show up for school if they're older. It can lead to self-harm. It can lead to suicide. It can lead to lifetime of low confidence, self-esteem issues, and a general lack of feeling okay about who you are and why you take up space on this earth. It is not okay. So knowing that, we need to do everything in our power to prevent it. But before we can prevent it, we have to know what it is. I heard a kid say, "Oh, this kid was bullying me, he was mean." And I overheard it. I'm like, no, the kid was just being mean. The kid was being thoughtless. So what is it? What isn't it? So bullying is a couple things. It's intentional. It's very deliberate. It is on purpose. They know what they're doing. It's not this, oh, I was being thoughtless, or oh, I said I'm better at soccer. No, that's not what we're talking about. It is repetitive. You have asked them to stop, they know that you want them to stop, and they continue. So it's not a one-time thing. If somebody is mean to you one time, they're mean. Maybe they were cruel. That Tim kid who drew all over my picture, he was mean, but he wasn't a bully because he didn't continue with it. Number 3, it's aggressive. It could be passive aggressive, but it is aggressive. It is designed, their behavior is designed to harass, humiliate, harm you, threaten to harm you, so that's the harassing part. It is intended to do harm, to cause harm. They know what they're doing. And then the last part of it is a real or a perceived imbalance of power. So power could be a physical, like height. It could be age, somebody's older to somebody's younger. It could be a group and then somebody on the outskirts, so a group of anything versus somebody who is perceived different. Any sort of a popular, unpopular, so that's that perceived power, right? Because that's made up power. The knowledge of a secret, so that you then hang it over them. I can out you at any time with your secret. An imbalance of power. So it's those 4 things that really determine that something is bullying behavior. And it's not this thoughtless, careless, oh, I was just mean today. No, it is purposeful. It is intentional. They know that it causes harm. Now, bullying becomes harassment when it is done based off of somebody's race, religion, nationality, their sex, their sexual orientation, their disability, their food allergy, a medical necessity. And harassment is illegal. Schools are required by law to report it and to escalate it to the local police department. Okay, so there are 4 kinds of bullying that you need to know about. The first kind you probably already know about. It's what's portrayed often in cartoons and in TV shows, and it's the physical bullying. So it's the bully stealing your lunch money or your milk money. It's anything physical, hitting, pushing, tripping, pushing down the stairs. If it happens one time, somebody's being mean. If it's done on purpose, kids know what they're doing, and they repeatedly do it, they're doing it to cause harm and to hurt someone, then it falls under physical bullying. There's also verbal bullying. So that's the teasing, the taunting, the threats to cause harm. That's where the laughing, being funny without being mean kind of stuff, that's where that can escalate into verbal teasing. If you're always calling somebody a name and it is constant and it is repetitive and it is harmful and you get other people to do it, so now everybody's calling this one kid this one derogatory name, bullying behavior, verbal bullying. The next one is that social, relational, sometimes called emotional bullying. And this is, avoiding them, like that cheese touch business or cooties back when we were kids. We had a student when I was in 6th grade, somebody decided that she had the cooties and nobody would walk near her. She was completely 100% isolated from any student. Nobody could sit next to her. Nobody could walk next to her. Nobody could even pass her for fear of spread. It was horrific. It was horrific. This is when I was a bystander. I saw it and I did nothing. And I regret it terribly. And Ava, if you're out there, I apologize. So avoidance, social exclusion, right? Everybody's together. You are not allowed to be her friend anymore. Getting other people to no longer be near her, to, to touch her, to partner with her, anything. Spreading rumors, nasty rumors, any kind of rumors, or I'm not gonna be friends with you anymore because of X, Y, and Z, and getting other people not to be friends. It's that mean girl behavior that escalates. And then the last one is cyberbullying, online bullying. It's any kind of bullying that happens over a screen. So this is text messages, this is anything online, social media, the Snapchats, all of that, the TikTok videos, all of social media. It also includes video games, because they can message each other through video games. And then of course our Zoom classes, if we're doing anything over online, there's always that chat. They can chat each other and they can get into groups and they can cyberbully over Zoom messaging. So it could be anything from impersonating somebody, pretending to do something or be somebody. It could be threats online. It could be sharing inappropriate photos or inappropriate information. And then even if somebody gets it and then they didn't do it, but then they forward it, that is part of cyberbullying. And the reason why we need to know these four is so that we can then teach our students what these are, teach our own kids, teach our students, teach our colleagues, so we know what to look for. Because again, adults tend to only see the physical. We don't usually, and maybe we can even hear the verbal, but usually that's done very quietly when we can't hear it. But we almost never look for that social or relational bullying, and the cyberbullying can go right over our heads because we're not even part of it. So we have to really be paying attention, knowing that this is happening. And then it can escalate to harassment if it is anything to do with a student's race, nationality, sex, sexual orientation, disability, a medical need like a food allergy. Schools are required by law to deal with this in a way that involves local police because it is illegal. So it then is taking the bullying to a whole nother level of harassment. And I have really bad news, and I'm sorry for saying this to you, and I'm sorry if this upsets you, and it was really hard for me to hear it as an educator. But there is a very high chance, a very high percentage, that you have students who are being bullied right now or have been bullied in your classrooms in the past and you don't know it. It's happening right under your nose. It's happening behind your back. It's happening on your watch. And when I found that out for me, I was devastated. It like makes me, it cheers me up. But there's good news. There's good news. You can 100% prevent a lot of it from happening, and I'm going to show you the signs so that you know what to look for, so that you can look for that verbal bullying and the social and relational bullying and the cyberbullying. Okay, so I'm gonna pull myself together. Here's how we prevent bullying. Okay, I've got a bunch of different ways for you. Number one is to talk about bullying. So when we set really clear expectations with our students, we're reading anti-bullying books, and I'll send you a list, and we have discussion starters about bullying, and we teach them there are 4 kinds, and this is what it looks like, and it's not okay, and we set it up. We can't just have posters that say no bullying. We have to then lead it to those actions of, we don't allow this. This is not who we are. We don't do this. We don't do this. We don't do this, and we don't do this because we're going to do this, 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 and this instead. So again, we don't have to like everybody. You don't have to be friends with everybody, but we are creating an anti-bullying community. So you can't just have we don't bully. No, you have to take action. Anti-bullying. We stand up to bullying if we see it, and we're going to go through all of those. So talking about bullying is the first step, so that our students know what the difference between a bully is and a mean kid, right? Somebody does something mean to you, that's a bummer. You're going to say, hey, that's mean, don't do that again. If they do it again, that's taking it to the next level. That is bullying, and it's not okay on our school campus, right? So talking about it. The next thing, and we talked about this in the Mean Girl video, is watch them when they don't think that you're really watching. So know who's in charge. Know where the power dynamic of your students are. Who are the leaders? Who are more of the followers? Who are your extroverts and your introverts? Who have maybe those bigger personalities and who have some of those quieter personalities? That will all kind of play a role. Who wants to join in but is kind of on the fringe of the social situation? And then watch those nice kids. Remember the kind versus nice, those kids who are really, really polite to you, but if you're watching them and they don't think, then they turn and they're nasty to the yard duty staff, or they're nasty to the custodian, or they're nasty to the sweet little new kid that just arrived, or they're nasty to the kindergartners. Pay attention to those kids very, very closely, because those are your kids that are more likely than to need your help to stop the bullying, or you're gonna know who maybe is going to then be bullied, more likely to be bullied. And I know that a lot of teachers will say, yeah, I don't have time for this. My recess is my time. That's my time to prep, plan, go to the bathroom, drink your coffee. I get all of that. I totally get it. Your lunch is, my lunch was my saving grace. It was when I got everything done so that after school I could go home and be done, and I needed some time for my family. I get it. But every once in a while, take a peek as you're walking. This is not like this 20-minute, 10-minute thing. It's as you're walking, pause and just notice. Be paying attention. Be looking. Be intentionally looking for how your kids interact in social situations when they don't think you're watching. You are going to get an eye-opening experience. You are going to see things that they didn't want you to see, that they didn't even know that you were seeing, and it's going to be powerful information for you. Okay, the third thing you need to do in order to be preventing bullying is you need to know who those cliques are. And we talked about this in the Mean Girl stuff a little bit. Know who your cliques are, know who that power dynamic is, because exclusion is a very, very powerful tool. That is one of the quickest, it's the shortest path into social bullying. And there's a lot of, if you don't do this, then I won't be your friend, or if you do this conditional friendship. And we're gonna go into what makes a really good friend and what doesn't make a good friend, so you can teach that to your students in the next set of videos. But knowing who your cliques are is going to help you. Number 4 is push to get your yard staff trained to be looking for bullying. So it's not just important for you to know it, it's important for the people who are in those social situations, who are in the less structured environments, to really know what bullying looks like. A lot of times our students will go to a yard duty staff when they need help and they'll get dismissed. Stop tattling, go deal with it, kids will be kids. But if a child is coming to us and asking for help, we need to listen. We need to give them help. We can teach them tattling versus telling, and I'm going to go into that in the next unit, so you can teach it to them. But we need to be there to listen. We need to be that safe adult. When they are coming to us for help, we need to be ready to hear it. So we need to take it seriously. We need to listen to them. We can't just blow them off. And we need to teach our students, if you tell an adult that you need help with something and they don't help you, go tell another adult. Come and tell me. Wait until you can tell me. Go tell somebody else that you trust. That does not mean that you are not ever going to get help. And again, we're going to teach, if our students know what bullying is and what bullying isn't, then they know when to come get help. They're not coming because somebody said something unkind, because they'll have in their resources, don't say that to me, you can't say that to me, that's an unkind thing to say. They won't come for an adult help if we've taught them how to deal with those things first. Okay, so when they do come for help, they need our help. They are out of resources. They are done with their level of capacity. It's above their pay grade. They need adult support. So when they do come, it's our job then to listen. And a lot of these things can easily get dismissed, especially this relational bullying stuff, because it's just, oh, kids will be kids, or she's just not wanting to play with you today. Go find somebody else to play with. But it could be something more. And then also asking those yard duty staff to tell you when something's going on, even that little stuff, because that's going to give you cues or clues or give you some eye-opening information of something else that's happening. So again, we talked about a little bit tattling versus telling, teaching our students which one is which, knowing that they can come get help when they need it. And it's okay to get help. It is not a sign of weakness. It is, you need help, come and get it. So we tell when somebody's hurt or about to get hurt. And again, we're going to go into that next week. Okay, next thing to prevent bullying. You need to know who your potential bullies are. And so in order to do that, you need to know who's maybe being bullied at home. And that's not always easy depending on your school environment. If your kids get dropped off in a bus or on the carpool line, you never really interact with your parents or see them. But if your student is showing signs of being bullied at home by a sibling, by a cousin, by a neighbor, by a parent, bullying is learned behavior. So if they're being bullied at home, there is a higher chance that they are going to then be bullies at school. They're going to want to shift that power dynamic in a space where they feel that they can. If they can't do it at home, then if they're not being heard at home, if they're not safe at home, they're going to come to school and dump on the people that they can be aggressive to. And that may be a student in your class or a younger student. All bullies have been bullied. Not all bullies will become bullies, but all bullies have been bullied at one time in their life, and it is a learned behavior. So knowing who is bullied will then help us pay attention. if they're going to then shift into the bullying role. The next thing you need to do is you need to know who your potential targets are. And this sounds awful to say it, but we need to get down and dirty here. Who are going to be most likely bullied? And it's going to be your kids who are different or who are perceived to be different. And so this goes back to that very first unit where we were talking about breaking down differences, celebrating our differences, really lifting each other up for being different, because that takes away the weirdness of being different. And I said that it's a way to bully proof our kids and prevent bullying. And this is how, because bullies target out the odd man out. They target the kid who is different. And our students who have special needs or are in SPED or have an IEP or 504, they are 2 to 3 times more likely to get targeted for being bullied. So your kids who are different, right? So think however they're different in your school environment. So definitely your kids who have a disability of any kind, your LGBTQ plus students, students who have a unique family situation, students who are new. They're new to the school, they're new to the district, they're new to the state, new to the country, new. Students who have a different language or a different skin color or a different nationality or a different religion than the majority of your other students. If a student is super hyper focused on one hobby or one thing, and they always wear that clothes of whatever it is, it could be Star Wars, it could be Legos, it could be unicorns, that makes them different because they really, really like, if you only have one student who's wearing glasses, a physical trait, if you have one student who's really, really tall or one student who's really, really short, the difference, any sort of difference. So if you have those students and you know who your most potential targets are, then you need to watch those students very carefully and with like a discerning eye, look for nuanced changes in their behavior. So little tiny things that seem like if you didn't know that they were a potential target for a bully, that you wouldn't question it. But maybe they become sullen or shy or more distant than normal. Maybe they don't smile as often as they used to, or maybe they cry more often than they used to. Or maybe they, like you go to touch their shoulder when you're helping them at their desk and they pull away from you. Signs of being bullied or abused, unfortunately. Maybe there's poor schoolwork, right? All of a sudden there's apathy and they just don't care anymore because they're focused on the bully and avoiding the bully and making sure they're out of the bully's reach. They're not paying attention to the lesson or not even caring about school. That is the least important thing of their day. They are worried about their own health and safety. That fight or flight is going to kick in. They are not paying attention to you. They don't care if they turn in good work or poor work. They are just trying to pay attention to where they're watching, where that bully is. They're keeping their distance. They're staying away. They're trying to get into a group of other people so they can protect themselves. And also then changing of how they interact with their peers at recess and lunch in those social situations. So if all of a sudden they're no longer sitting with that group that they always sat with, or if they're no longer hungry, or if they all of a sudden are having headaches and stomach aches and are always wanting to go to the nurse's office right before lunch or recess. They're avoiding something maybe for a reason. So these are just little things. And again, these aren't, cut and dry, black and white, this is who's being bullied. This is just to open our eyes. My daughter was bullied in her 5th grade classroom in front of her teacher, and her teacher never saw it. She came home with physical marks on her body. She was being harassed, emotionally bullied inside. It happened in the hallways and on the recess and the lunch. It happened in her classroom. And I talked to her teacher about it, and she's like, oh, I never saw anything. I didn't even know. Because we're focused on doing 29 other things as educators, right? We've got our lessons and we're trying to make sure they're all learned. There's so many things we have to do as an educator. And I'm sorry, I'm so sorry that I'm saying you have to do one more thing, but we do. Because if we're creating that safe space for our students, this is what we're doing. This is part of it. And it's not fun, and I am so, so, so sorry. But this is part of the gig. And if I'm giving you these things to look for, it makes it a lot easier. And then the last thing that you need to do to prevent bullying is kind of just know where bullying is going to happen most likely, and it's where there's less supervision. So it's in the bathrooms, it's in the hallways, it's at recess, it's at lunch. And so then you can, in order to prevent it, you can add more supervision. You can pop into the bathroom every once in a while, or you can, stick your head out in the hallway, or walk them to recess through the hallways, or be at the end of the line when they're walking through the hallway so you can see everything. Your line leader can get you to your classroom or get you to the gym. You're at the back of the line kind of watching all of it, or walk next to those students who are most likely to be bullies, or walk next to your students who are the potential targets for bullies. putting yourself in that place. You know, we also, in our classrooms, we tend to turn our backs for a second. We are grabbing something, we're working with a small group, but we also know that we do have eyes in the back of our head. We can scan a classroom very easily if we're paying attention, knowing what really is happening. Over here, I see you, you're doing this, but I'm over here. This is what we do. We're like octopuses, right? Octopi. We've got 29 things happening and we can do it because that is our skill set as educators, right? We're helping him, we're keeping an eye on him, we're watching him. You need to sit down. We can do this. So we're watching and we're scanning and we're looking, we're paying attention for it. We're purposefully looking for it. Because when we're not purposefully looking for it, it's happening and we can stop it. Okay, in our next video, we're gonna talk about once you know what's happening, a student comes to you, you see it, you suspect something, whatever the case may be, you hear about it, parents bring it to your attention, what to do next. What do we do next? And we're gonna go over that in the next video.